Hi everyone, Graham Couch here from the Lansing State Journal along with my Detroit Free Press colleague Chris Solari after Mark Dantonio's Tuesday press conference here at Spartan Stadium. Previewing Western Michigan, but really not. Really sort of admonishing his offense for what happened against Tulsa. And
he sounded like his fan base.
He did, and I give him some credit for this. One of the things Mark Dantonio has done well over time is he has had the tone of the fan base. He has understood where the fan base is. It goes right back to 2007 and the Michigan deal with Little Brother and the way they responded to that. The one place he's tested them over time is sometimes been the offense and not always having that tone. Today he had it. Chris, I mean, he was blunt. He was not happy with the effort. He was not happy with the execution. Said half the team got it, the other half didn't. He was not happy with the offensive line. He was stern and he was not making excuses for them.
Yeah, blunt, defiant, vehement, whatever words you choose to use there. I mean, he was very much in the admonishing mode. And you watch that game, and especially you watch it back and see how much the offensive line struggled in that game. One thing I thought that he did bring up as well on top of that was the inability of receivers to run routes at full speed.
Yeah.
That's a big thing. I mean, if you've got receivers, especially veteran receivers, not doing that right now, that's going to be a problem for your quarterback. The one guy I don't think he touched really was Brian Lewerke. But the running backs were kind of a mixed bag with whether or not they hit the holes and did the things properly that they needed to.
Receivers and routes,
especially was a big thing on top of everything else. But I think the one thing that's important to keep an eye on, though, is that what kind of changes can and will they make between week 1 and week 2, because that's the time that you're supposed to see the biggest jump.
And health on that offensive line will play a role in some of that. Now, if you have to go with the same group, if you don't have A.J. Curry back, and it's unclear you will, I mean, then it's still, at least these guys had another week together. But there are some realities to it. Right? You can say it's execution, you can ask certain things of your players, but if they're not capable of it, then that's sort of on your recruiting and developing and other things. That'll be interesting. The mindset is one thing, and I'm not saying mindset doesn't have to change some places, but there's also ability, and he's asking a different level.
Yeah, and I think this is a warning shot to a lot of the veterans on that offensive line. I mean, these are guys, a lot of them have played 3 years of football. It doesn't sound like Cole Chewins will be back anytime soon. Yeah. He has to get back in practice, he said. Our Curry, it had been at least 10 days that Jarvis had been repping at left tackle. And Dantonio, to his credit, said that Jarvis played okay, which is one thing that moving forward, you've got now a 3-year guy changing positions to the most important position maybe on the offensive line. That bears watching. And, you look at the guys behind them. I mean, Matt Carrick got his first career start, but Dantonio again brought up the thing that he talked about with the fog of war. And I think that's kind of going to be one of those things with this offensive line. It's going to be talked about a lot. Can they play through the fog of that, the snaps, the inconsistecy, whatever it may be?
Your greatest plans, when contact hits, sometimes that's the point. They go to waste. And I agree with you. And he's had some interesting press conferences lately. I thought his press conference when he said he was going to shuffle his staff was one of the more reflective, interesting. That was like 40 minutes of it was very Dantonio-like, but also very introspective. And this one was
even in Chicago, I think he has the belief in this team, and it really showed. And I think that if he doesn't believe in this team and this offense, I don't think he takes that same tone and tenor to them.
And I think, you're right. I think he's ticked off at him right now. I think he thinks this can be better, and he frankly, they need to be better. He needs them to be better, because this was what we saw on Friday night against Tulsa. Just won't put you in contention for a Big Ten title. You're not going to beat Penn State. You're not going to beat Ohio State. You're probably not going to beat Michigan. And when it was Wisconsin, there are like 4 games out there that offensive line is just going to cripple you against if that's the performance.
Yes, and that's the one thing about this schedule for Michigan State, and we talked about this last week. It's a slow build. Yes, you get Tulsa, but it gets a little tougher against Western Michigan. Then it gets a little bit tougher against Arizona State. Then it gets a lot tougher against Northwestern. So you got to use and maximize these 3 games in the non-conference schedule to iron out those issues, and that's what between week 1 and week 2. That's the mission and goal. I mean, they can't score 6 points from the offense and get the rest from special teams and the defense. That's not a reality when you get into later parts of the season.
Yeah, it's an ideal crescendo. You're right. The schedule really is, but eventually, you know, look, when you've had 4 years without running the football well, there's some question whether it ever comes around.
And that was one thing I think Dantonio said. He really liked what he saw from Elijah Collins, and he needs more touches.
Yeah.
And what's important to understand is that Elijah Collins is a true running back, whereas the other two guys are not. They're trying to make them running back.
Also said Anthony Williams at some point will play. Was unclear, you know, whether that'll happen this week. That's, you know, he's a guy who I think we all saw in the spring game has some, you know, natural knack to him at that position. Anything else from the day you think is important?
That's about it. I mean, you know, the defense, I think it's important. And I think Mark Dantonio caught himself to just not get too caught up in the frustrations and negativity, to remind everybody, hey, this defense is legit, that Jacob Panashuk has really turned the corner and is starting to look like a star performer opposite Kenny Willekes, and that everybody on that defense, including Antoine Simmons and Xavier Henderson, the two newcomers, played well. And I think the other thing that he did is that he made sure not to lose Josh Butler. I think that was an important thing when he was asked about the pass interference calls on Josh Butler, that, hey, those were aggressive penalties. That's what we want our cornerbacks to do. We got turnaround on one. It was right there and a little bit on both sides on the touchdown. So that's a veteran guy. That's a veteran voice and an important veteran voice in the back of that defense that they need.
And a position, whoever is opposite Josiah Scott is going to get picked on this year. So you need them, whoever it is, to maintain confidence. We'll have complete coverage throughout the week. Freep.com, LSJ.com, greenandwhite.com. Thanks for watching.